All right, so did you enjoy the choir? Yeah, fantastic, eh? We are in the process. We are in the process of putting together a joint choir for Easter. So St. Aidan's Anglican Church, the priest there, Dave Labden, is a very dear friend of mine. And so we're going to do some Easter stuff together, and so there will be room for it, and I'm just can hardly wait. This is like 40 people in a choir, and with that, I don't know, like 70 would be pretty rad, and we'll just kind of take over everything, which will be lovely. And then if there's more people in the choir than there are in the congregation, we'll just role reverse, and you guys can stand on stage, and it'll be lovely. So this is, again, one of the deep desires or loves or wants that I've had for a long time, to be able to have a choir at church, and we've done little versions of it, but we haven't done it like this before. And so who knew that the recorder could be so amazing, right? That wasn't a flute, that was a recorder. I was telling someone in the lobby after the first service, I was like, I went to a jazz band concert this last week, and coming out of it was like, I need to get all the jazz people together, and we need to make a band and go to the Forks and busk or do something, because that would be awesome. And then here we have recorder. I'm like, oh, we should really have a recorder crew that does this. And I heard that there was a recorder that was going to be playing, which is awesome. Madden did a great job. And so I went online to listen to recorder music, because I was like, really? Is recorder that good? Do you know how good? Like, they have, like, she was telling me earlier, there's 6 different sizes of recorder. The bass recorder is like this big, and they do like these concerts that are stunning. So if you need to be inspired on a Christmas season time, go look up recorders, because it's stunning. And maybe we'll have a recorder thing. Like, if we were talking before, if you had this in grade 4, like someone come and play this in grade 4, you'd be like, I'm in, I'll play recorder the rest of my life. But you got, and then it's over. So anyway, none of us really got excited about recorder in grade 4, nor did the parents of the children playing the recorder, nor if you had any pets, especially dogs at home. They were like, ow! So anyway, on that note, I've delayed enough to get everyone in here. So one announcement for you. Next weekend, Sunday, is Christmas morning. And so we are going to have a Christmas morning service, but it's going to be just one service at 10 a.m. And there's no childcare that's going to be happening at that point, but one service, 10 a.m. It's going to be a bit of a shortened service. It's going to be some worship. Abby's family is coming on Christmas Day to serve us that way. I'll give a short message as well, and we'll just spend a little time. So it'll be a shortened one if you want to come. We'd love to have you here 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. And on Christmas Eve, we have friends of ours. John Schaffner is the pastor at Be the Church, and they don't have a location for their service on that day. So they're going to come here and use our facility on Saturday evening or on Christmas Eve. So if all of a sudden you're like, you have a tradition of going to church on Christmas Eve and you'd like a location to come to, you are invited to come. They would love to have you join them. It's at 6:30 here at the church, and you are more than welcome to come. I will be doing Christmas with my family, but they would love to have you here as well. So those are my announcements. You got them all? It's clear? Okay. Well, the preparation of Jesus coming, the expectation or the preparation of that is Advent, and today is the last one, as I said before. It's the 4th part. Advent was something that I didn't understand growing up as a child. How many of you remember when you were in church, if you went, where there was a wreath up front and someone walked in and then lit the candles? Did any of you remember that? All I knew about Advent was a candle person, and then you get asked to do it. I'm like, probably not a good idea as a hyperactive child. But one year I got to do it. I had no idea, even as a pastor, I didn't really know what Advent meant. I was like, why don't we call it preparing for Jesus or like something? But Advent, and I know it has meaning, but I had to look it up over the years to understand it. So there's kind of 3 parts traditionally to Advent. Advent has, one part is to prepare or be excited about Jesus' birth, him, God, coming from heaven to earth as a baby. That's like 2,000 years ago. It's hard to get expectant or prepared or excited about something that happened, an event that happened 2,000 years ago. But it's more than that, because he comes and he brings peace to the earth, or there's an opportunity for people to have peace in their lives and joy in their lives. And so that's the second part, which is we get to enter into relationship with God. And the result is the Spirit comes and dwells in us, and we can begin to have these very gifts that we speak of at Advent, joy and hope and peace and love, these are things that are now available for all of us to have. And finally, for Advent, it's preparing or being expectant for the second coming of Christ. And he will come again. He says in some of his last words on earth, he's like, I'm going to prepare a place for you, and I will come back to get you. If it were not so, I would have told you. This is what we hope or anticipate or long for as well. So Advent takes all of these things and puts it together in one part of the Christmas calendar or the Christian calendar. So we focused again on the 4 parts, and Daryl and Connor just did an amazing job inspiring us over the last number of weeks. And so this hope, love, joy, and peace, I was meditating and thinking about these. It's like, if tomorrow morning you wake up and over the night, peace came on the earth, like as it is in heaven, perfected peace comes onto the earth, what would be the first thing that you would notice tomorrow morning if peace came on the earth tonight? This is what I was thinking of. It's kind of weird, but this is what I was thinking. I was like, okay, so the first thing probably in my calendar, I was like, well, I get up and my day is pretty peaceful. My home is peaceful, and my little puppy sits on my lap and a blanket wrapped in my back room and a cup of coffee and my Bible open. It's really lovely, and so it's quite peaceful. And I thought probably the first place that I would find peace, driving. I know it doesn't seem spiritual, but probably everyone would be like, you put your signal on there, no, go, I'll just stop, I'll let you in. And the people behind are not honking, they're like, no, it's good, we love it. We love when people cut the line and drive ahead and avoid all construction signs. Peace be with you. I think on news, probably news would change pretty drastically, wouldn't it? If there was peace that happened on the earth, like early on, and I think news reporters would go crazy. They're like, it's crazy, this war ended just overnight. Actually, this one, overnight, this, overnight. And I think there would be this pandemic of great glory. And here we have this privilege. Jesus comes down to earth, doesn't just bring peace in a time of chaos of sorts, where we have the Roman Empire that's at work and expanding, and we have the Jews and taking advantage of some of the people or many of the people this way. All of these things, Jesus comes and brings a measure of peace, but says actually our job or our responsibility or those that follow him are to take this message of peace everywhere. Not just the message of it, the way of living. It's how we end up going about our lives, this peace and this joy. So perhaps as you come here today, you came, listen to someone or see one of those adorable children. By the way, that was so fun when the song sped up and then they start shaking faster that they can't sing. They can hardly concentrate. But perhaps you come here today and you came for one of these things, but wouldn't that be amazing if a miracle happens here today where you come and you encounter and you meet the person of peace, Jesus, and you encounter him. Maybe you get more than what you bargained for and your life is changed today. Perhaps you get to meet the one, God, who has love for us that has no conditions. It's not like you must do this and then I'll love you. No, he just loves you. And he's your favorite. I mean, you're his favorite. You're his favorite. He doesn't love unequally. It's like the love, his unconditional love is available for everyone equally. And this, perhaps, you will encounter him today. And so today, I get to focus on this idea of peace and what that means, and then we'll end with the choir up here again. So as I dive into the subject and this gift of it, I look around in culture and I realize that there isn't always a lot of peace. Is that accurate? There's some chaos that's out there, and I think a lot of people in their lives, they also don't experience a peace all the time. Even in the church, there's not always a lot of peace that people experience. And so I think we all desire and crave peace, but when there isn't peace, we find ways in which to come up with a solution, to have a measure or a form or something that might be peace-like. So we distract ourselves, or we watch Netflix, or while we're doing things in the house, we always have the TV or music playing because we don't like the inner thoughts that are going on. Right? So peace would lead us to a place where this can get settled on the inside, and we can be equilibrium, or we can be at peace, or we can have something inside that you can't quite describe it. It's just peaceful. But when you don't have it, you need something to silence the stuff that goes on in here. Do you understand what I mean? Does that make it? So how do I get this thing to be silent? I think everyone craves peace. I think peace and joy are like two of the things that are longed for by everyone in our society, almost everyone in our society. There's a few that really seem to like chaos, right? But most people desire peace and they desire joy. It's interesting. Paul says this in 1 Corinthians 14, verse 33. For God is not a God of disorder, but of peace. So I thought I'm like, that's weird. I never considered disorder or chaos to be the opposite of what peace would be. I was thinking about a story. I was at one of my kids' choir concerts many, many years ago. And I went to this concert, and there are kids. It's like multiple schools all together, and it's pandemonium. And it's chaotic. And then the sound doesn't work. This doesn't work. These kids are yelling. They're not doing their thing. The conductors are doing this. This is not the music. It was like, I'm like, when I get embarrassed, I just start to sweat. And I'm just like, I am so embarrassed for everybody right now. Like, no one was having a good time, and everyone was awkwardly uncomfortable. Have you been in that environment? You're like, this is awkward. Not peaceful, disorderly, and chaotic, but when something, it doesn't have to be polished, but when it's together and it's a plan, like even today, it's like there's moving pieces, but like there's some order and cause you to have joy, and then you have this elation from some of the kids during the video, and you're like, ah! And it's beautiful, but it's not chaos or disorder. There's something remarkable about it. Well, the Bible speaks of 5 different ways that the word peace is used in the New Testament. I'll focus on one, but I'll tell you what the 5 are. One of the examples is peace is the absence of war or the absence of chaos. That would be one example of peace in the New Testament. Peace as in a right relationship with God or with Jesus. That's another form, to be at peace with him, to be in relationship where we are at peace. This is the love relationship among people, right? When you come in and like things are well among people, it's not like you're hoping that someone's not going to lose it on you. Not like that. It's like it's peaceful, and that's an example. The 4th one, which I will speak on for a few minutes on, is peace as an individual virtue, a state of being. The dictionary would say tranquility or serenity. It's like something internal. There's a value that's internal. I'm going to focus on that. And finally, there's the use of peace as part of a greeting, a formal greeting of sorts. Peace be with you. And so we're going to go from there. So I'm going to read this part, 2 Peter 1, verse 2 and 3. And I'm reading it in the Amplified Version. If you want a version that helps to give a little bit more explanation, there's multiple versions of peace. Not all of it is an inner working. So it says this: grace and peace, that special sense of spiritual well-being. That's how this word would be described. So grace and peace be multiplied to you in the true, intimate knowledge of God and of Jesus our Lord. Those words, true, intimate knowledge of God. So peace to you in the true, intimate knowledge of God and of Jesus Christ our Lord. For his divine power has bestowed on us absolutely everything necessary for a dynamic spiritual life and godliness through true and personal knowledge of him who called us by his own glory and excellence. You know, there's lots in there. This to me is interesting. I was like, okay, so the knowledge of God somehow produces peace. How is it possible? Not just knowledge. We're talking a true, intimate, personal belief of God causes us to have peace. So my family, as an example, my family was building a 2nd floor on our house to bring and have many more. Often I would go to Kendra and be like, Kendra, what's the worst case scenario? Like suppose that it costs us way too much and what's the worst? So we're going to have a bed and we're going to go, like we would be taken care of. They wouldn't make fun of us. They'd be like, you are welcome. As a result of knowing how our parents would respond, we have a measure of peace in taking a risk in what we think God is asking because we know that like my mom and dad, or, that make sense? In the same way, if you have a parent that criticizes you on every financial decision, you never get it right, you always do it wrong, you want to prove to them that you are good with your finances, you're not going to blow it, and if it would be a mistake or if it wouldn't work out, they would just your home. You might not take risk in some of these things, knowing that you're going to have to put up with something for the rest of your life. Decisions. It's like, is God with a binder or a notebook looking and just waiting for you to make an error? Right? He's like, oh, I gave you this money. How are it for you? If you believe God to be that way, you will live differently. This is why knowing God and knowing Jesus is so critically important. Last week when Connor talked about the parable of the field, the parable where man comes, finds a treasure, goes, sells everything, goes back, digs it up, buys the land and digs it up. This is Jesus who loves us so much, his treasure, his creation, us, loves so much that he would go sell or give up everything in heaven where peace is because he loves us so much. Well, if you know God this way, that he just loves you because he loves you, that he would give up anything for you to be in relationship with you, that's different in making a decision other than the other way that it's been interpreted, which is the kingdom of heaven is worth it. So you go sell everything, you give up everything, you do it all, you can give up stuff. That's a very different view of God, and we will make decisions different based on how we know God personally and intimately. Are you comprending with me? For my French people. This is why the knowledge of God and Jesus is critical. Is he a protector? Does he actually love you? Does he care? Does he call people? Is he trustworthy? Or does he have the secret tyrannical side that just loses it once in a while and you never know when, so you're all off put? You're just waiting for the hammer to drop. To know him is important. And as we experience these things and we learn to know him more, we can trust him more. And the more we trust him, the greater measure of peace would be in one's life. This is probably why this verse has become my favorite verse of the last probably 15 years. This is Jesus praying to the Father, and he says this in John 17:3. Now this is eternal life, that they know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent. And I didn't get it at first. But like when I put it in the perspective I just shared with you, to know him, it changes your every bit of living, your day by day, how you react and how you respond. You don't need to bring justice to everyone. He is just, and he will take care of it. He says, leave it with me. Like, I'm better at justice than you are. Leave it with me. Now, we get to participate with him, but it's not our duty to go and do that. Paul says it this way in Romans 8, verse 5-8. Those who live according to the flesh have their mind set on what the flesh desires. But those who live in accordance with the Spirit have their mind set on what the Spirit desires. The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and yeah, this is what it is. It's life and peace. The mind governed by the flesh is hostile to God. It does not submit to God's law, nor can it do so. Those who are in the realm of the flesh cannot please God. It's like, oh, if we live by the flesh, if we live in this way, we set our minds on the flesh, and then what we do is we don't get to have this idea or this gift of what peace would be. Consider the Christmas story. Joseph, who was quite irate on, hyper perhaps, planning to get married to his bride-to-be Mary. She gets pregnant. He knows they didn't have any, what's that? Relations. They didn't know each other. They didn't have, I said in the first time, they didn't have any schmexy time. So he knows that the child is not his. Yeah, you can use that, parents. That's all good. He knows it isn't his child, so he's honorable, and he's going to divorce her quietly. This would be a worldly and right response in this situation. But when he hears from God, everything changes because his relationship with God, he trusts God. He doesn't even know the Messiah yet because it's like, it's but like the beginning of life in Mary and doesn't know. But this is what it says in Matthew 1. This is how the birth of Jesus the Messiah came about. His mother Mary was pledged to be married to Joseph, but before they came together, she was found to be pregnant through the Holy Spirit. Because Joseph, her husband, was faithful to the law and yet did not want to expose her to public disgrace, he had it in mind to divorce her quietly. But after he had considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins. All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet, quote, the virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us, end quote. When Joseph woke up, he did what the angel of the Lord had commanded him and took Mary home as his wife, but he did not consummate or have schmexy time in their marriage until she gave birth to a son, and he gave him the name Jesus. This is beautiful because no question, he trusts God so much, God speaks, he obeys. Like his relationship, his knowledge of God, without even having met the Messiah, just knowing God, being faithful to the law, was enough for him. He trusted the king of the kingdom of God, and now God was entrusting him and Mary to carry and raise the Son of God. Beautiful. But if you don't really know God, how do you respond to a dream or an angel of the Lord visitation or a prophetic word or to scripture? If your belief of Jesus is off, it changes it. If you don't know that he loves you and there's no condition, he just loves you and has your best in mind for you, and you believe something different, how are you going to trust when he begins and tries to speak to you? You'll write it off with the nattering in the brain, the unpeaceful nattering that says, that's not true, he doesn't love you, you're not good enough, you're dumb, you're ugly, you're whatever this would be. He's like, no, you don't understand, I love you. And why does he love you? It's not because of anything you've done. He just loves you because you are his prized possession, his favorite, his jewel, the prize that he would go for. And it's worth everything that he would give up life in heaven, the perfect place, the place we long for us. This is Advent. This is the preparation. Jesus, he teaches us how to pray. And the Lord's Prayer, I've been using this a lot lately, is on earth as it is in heaven. There's peace in heaven, yes? We believe so. There's joy in heaven. There's hope in heaven. And we have the responsibility as people, as children of God, as those who have been saved from our sins. And he invites us and says, you now help to bring about my kingdom everywhere, my peace everywhere, my joy everywhere. The gospel is the hope of the world, Jesus. It's not do this and do this and do this and do this, and then he might like you. No. He loves you in spite of all that, and he wants relationship with you. This peace that surpasses all understanding is spoken of in Philippians 4. And I'll end here, and then the choir will come. Rejoice. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. And the God of peace will be with you. For us to know him is critical, and to know who he is. That's why we open up the word. That's why we engage in relationship together. That's why we pursue the kingdom together. That's why. So we get to know him, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom he has sent. Let me pray. God, thank you. Thank you for the gift of peace. Thank you that when you came to earth, it was unexpected in every way. They thought it was going to be something different, but there was peace, God. You brought peace to the world. Not peace that we thought as a mighty warrior coming and just slaughtering enemies. It wasn't peace where you come and you fight against anyone who doesn't believe. Not tyranny. You came in a message of the gospel, peace and hope and joy. God, would we know you? Would we grow in the knowledge of who you are? The personal, intimate knowledge of you. God, would you give us a desire to know you more? God, that it would change the way we live, that we would have peace in our lives, God. Help us to put our minds not onto the nattering in our brain, but to the things that are good and lovely and admirable and excellent and praiseworthy. God, we need peace in our lives. The world needs peace. God, we need peace. And the way we get at the true peace is not just by managing our emotions. It's knowing you intimately and personally. Help us, God. And if there's people here who haven't known this peace, God, I pray that you would give them the strength to risk, to say, I'm in. I want to know this peace. I want to know Jesus. God, I pray that they would take a risk and invite you to come and transform their lives. Thanks, Jesus, for this morning. Thank you for this time. All praise to you in Jesus' name. Amen. How's that for a fantastic Sunday morning? Isn't that good? Merry Christmas. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, special thanks, Ulrika. Thank you for doing this. My, yeah. Our little pipe dream that we've had for a while. So my niece Delaney came as well. And Josh and Madden and everyone else who was a part, thank you guys. Sound like awesome. What a remarkable time to celebrate. So God bless you. May the peace of Christ be with you as you head into this Christmas season. God bless you. Take care. Thank you.